In this week's video, I want to talk about why a tripod could be one of the best buys you'll ever make and how it can really transform your photography. I'm going to touch on low light photography and night photography, using slower shutter speeds to add blur to your images, light trails, and even how to create cool starburst effects just like this. Welcome to the Photo Genius channel. Hi, Paul here from Photo Genius. Welcome to my channel where I share photography tips and tricks, all designed to help you get more from your digital camera so you can take better photos. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. So this week's video is all about how a tripod can add real value to your photography. So let's not waste any time, let's get into it. So this morning my day started at 5 AM. I was up early to capture the first light of day down at Manly Harbour. That's just a short drive from the office. I was using the Canon R50, which if you don't know is one of Canon's entry-level mirrorless cameras. And I'm also using a wide-angle lens that I've owned for many years and an adapter so the lens can fit the mirrorless mount. Now sunrise photography can be very hit and miss, but today I got lucky. Now my first tip I want to share is to always arrive early to set the camera up, as the colour of the sky can change very quickly and you can easily miss the moment. Now I managed to capture a handful of images that I really like, this being one of the first, and this is straight out of the camera, and this is the edited version using Lightroom. Now let's take a look at my camera settings, starting with aperture. Now aperture is the F number that you will see displayed on the LCD screen on the back of the camera. I chose f11. Now this is a smaller aperture. Now whilst this may restrict how much light can pass through the lens, the advantage here is a greater depth of field. Now in layman's terms, this simply means more sharpness throughout the image, from the foreground to the boats where the camera is focused and beyond. In fact, f11 is often the go-to aperture for many landscape photographers. Now next up is ISO. Now I set the camera's ISO low at 100, the main reason being that this will give a cleaner looking image. Raising the ISO will make the image brighter, but that comes at a cost, and that is what we call digital noise. Now next is the shutter speed, and for this first shot, which was taken around 20 minutes before the sun rose, I used a shutter speed of 10 seconds. Now that's a significant time, but the longer the shutter is open, the more opportunity the camera's sensor has to record light. So to recap, ISO at 100 to help reduce the digital noise, aperture at f11 for a sharper image with an extended depth of field, and the shutter was open for 10 seconds, which of course is the reason why the camera needed to be on a tripod. Now this image was my favourite, taken the same morning around 25 minutes later, the same ISO and aperture settings as before, but with the sun peeking over the horizon, the shutter only needed to be opened for 0.3 seconds, and of course a tripod once again was used to avoid any camera movement. Now something to be mindful of when using slow shutter speeds is that anything that moves during the exposure time is going to blur. In the case of this image, for example, that means a softer surface to the water and even blurring the clouds. And for this shot, a shutter speed of 30 seconds. Now take a look at this image, this time a shutter speed of 1.6 seconds. Not particularly long, but enough time to capture the light trails as the cars travel along the highway. And once again a reminder, an image that I could not have captured without a tripod, because the shutter is simply open too long. Capturing light trails is similar to another technique called painting with light. This is a lot of fun to do and something you can practice and try at home. I've made a separate video all about it. You'll find a link in the description below this video. Now of course, if you don't have access to a tripod, that doesn't stop you from being creative and using slower shutter speeds. You just have to be mindful of how slow you can go. For example, take a look at these images, all shot handheld by myself. I took both of these images with my Fujifilm X100V using a slow shutter speed of 1/30th and 1/50th of a second. Just fast enough to be able to handhold the camera, but slow enough that people walking past blur. The same technique here for a fun shot of my kids on the beach, and for this image of a passing cyclist, I'm using the panning technique, moving the camera with the rider to capture directional blur and create a feeling of movement. Now for street photography where a tripod is not really practical, this is a technique that I enjoy using a lot. Just make sure that you use a shutter speed that is fast enough for you to be able to handhold your camera. Typically this is around 1/60th of a second if you're using a standard lens, but with a longer zoom lens you will be better using a faster shutter speed. Now this is because a longer focal length lens will exaggerate your hand movements. Now I've made a video all about this. I think you'll find it useful. So if you want to check it out next, you'll find a link up here, but I've also added it in the video description down below. Now let's take a look at another cool technique that you might want to try for yourself. This is often called the Starburst Effect and is caused by diffraction of light, which is the bending of light rays as they pass through a small opening, in this case the aperture in the lens. Now to get this effect you will need to use a smaller aperture, and my recommendation would be around f11 to f16. If you have one, a wide angle lens will also give better results than a lens with a longer focal length. Now if you're thinking of buying a tripod, I have included some recommendations. You'll find them in the description below this video. Plus there's another video that you may want to check out next. In it I share lots of tripod tips and also show you my 3 favourite tripods. Now if you've enjoyed this week's video, please consider hitting the like button. You'll find it somewhere down there. Giving the video a thumbs up really helps it get noticed and that helps the channel grow. Of course, if you want to see more videos from me, also consider subscribing, and that is about it. Other than to say thanks for watching and I hope to see you again sometime soon. See ya. Bye.